going to start recording, and your faces will not be available to the public, just the screen. Okay. Welcome to How to Improve Your Condition in Life. This is part 1 of 2, an Indie Bridge event produced by the OT Association. You can get in touch with us at indiebridge.org. That's our website, and find out about future events. We also have an Indie Bridge Facebook page. You can email us or ask an OTA member how to join. Just email us info@indiebridge.org. That's our email address. And we love to hear from you. Get your comments. Just staying calm. We like that. Our next Indie Bridge event, just a heads up, is the second part of how to improve your condition in life. It's called Success as an Executive, and it's going to focus on 3rd dynamic conditions. That is Saturday, April 20th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Now, if you have questions during this talk, type your questions into the public chat, or just to Z or Mary in the chat, or you can just raise your hand under the reactions on that menu at the bottom of the screen. Okay, we will get to you. We're paying attention, and sometimes it just takes us a moment to go through all the questions. Right now, I'm going to do introductions. The OT Association was begun about 1.5 years ago, and our members are 7. Trey Lotz, OT 8, Class 9, and an ELS auditor. Randy Smith, who is our co-presenter today, OT 7, Class 9, auditor and CS. Z Snyder, OT 8, Class 5 grad and auditor. Jerry Tunadal, OT 8, Class 9 auditor and CS. And Ingrid Hoffman, OT 8 and Dianetics auditor. And Greg Cohen, OT 8 and Class 2. I'm the OTA chair. My name is Mary Blackford. I'm an OT 6 currently on Solo Knots and a Class 2 auditor. I am also your MC for today. All right, here we go. I'd like to introduce our special guest speaker for today, Steve Poor. He has been doing business consultation for 40 years. He has 40 years of consultation experience since 1985. That's a lot of experience. He's helped thousands of businesses with LRH Tech, and he's referred hundreds of people to the LRH Bridge during his time as a business consultant. He is currently also on Solo Knots. He's exec status 1. He's done dozens of admin courses, KTL and LOC graduate. He's data series evaluator trained, ESTO trained, and a graduate of the Philadelphia Doctorate course, or we call it the PDC. And he's a Dianetics or NED auditor. And you can reach him at his number at Turner Management. His phone number is there, 818-601-0494. All right, here we go. Steve, I'm going to let you take it away. And we're going to start with conditions definition.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary. So we have about a dozen attendees. So we'll start with the definition of condition. We're talking today about conditions formulas, and we are referring to operating states. And on the first slide, you see there some definitions of condition, and it's a state of something, its appearance, quality, or working order. As you can see there, circumstances affecting the way in which people live or work, factors or prevailing situation influencing the performance or outcome of a process, state of affairs that must exist or be brought about before something else is possible or permitted. So these are kind of standard definitions of the word condition. But, in life, each dynamic is in some operating state, which is another way of saying in some condition. None of our dynamics are in a no condition. uh, so, and usually one dynamics condition, not usually, but always would affect other dynamic conditions. So, the next slide is says conditions. The declaration of a condition is something new in this universe. The conditions are not. So I always like to tell people that LRH, and he told us this in very many ways, that he didn't invent these natural laws or what he discovered about them. He didn't invent conditions. He didn't invent these laws of these natural laws and tenets that govern organizations or govern our work or govern life, for that matter. He simply was able to discover these natural laws and these tenets and write them down and apply them and learn how they worked. And that's really LRH's genius. And that's what it means to me. I think he's very clear about that. But so the conditions, the declaration of a condition is something new in this universe. The conditions are not. Next slide is conditions are declared on the basis of a statistic. You have to be able to get a statistic on anything, anywhere in an operation. So in an operation, meaning, okay, you're operating on the first dynamic, which is survival for yourself as yourself. That's a somewhere of operation. That's you operating on the first dynamic. There's your operation on the second dynamic, how you're operating on the 2D with your partner, your sexual partner, whether you're married or not. You've got an operation there in that area of your life, and that would be how you're operating on the 2D. So next slide, product. You're measuring with statistics, you're measuring products, and it is something that has exchange value within or outside the activity. So when we say inside the activity in a work environment, we're talking about how you exchange with others in the group. In other words, the receptionist in a group is passing a phone call correctly to someone else in the group. That would be one of her products, is successfully passing and properly passing a comm line that comes in, that she enters the phone through and passes that terminal to someone in the group. That would be within the organization. And of course, outside the organization produces widgets, and those widgets have value to whoever is purchasing those widgets from that group, from that organization, from that company. And that would be exchange outside the organization. So over the years, I've consulted hundreds of dental practices, optometry practices, veterinarian practices, chiropractic practices, other types of specialty and medicine practices. They always have something that they exchange. And, you know, I think we've all been to the dentist, so I'll use some examples there that anybody could relate to. And so when I go into a dental practice, some of the staff are like, well, we don't produce a product, we produce a service. So how does that work? And but if you understand what you're exchanging with the patients in that dental practice, you can define what the product is, even though it's called a service. So, for example, um, I define what a dental practice produces as far as service uh, as a happy, healthy patient that's accepted, completed, paid for, the dental work that was done, the dentistry service that was performed by the doctor, by the staff, um, and the patient paid for that service. Um, and it's defined as the product. It's defined again as a happy, healthy patient that's accepted, completed, paid for the treatment or service in full, is happy with the treatment or service. They know they received the treatment or service. They're happy with the treatment or service that they received, the dentistry work that they received, and they'll come back for more dentistry service, dentistry work, dental work as needed. And also, ideally, they would be happy enough to say nice things about their experience in getting that product or that product being delivered to them, which again would be a service. And of course, a crown placed. You can see the crown, you can touch the crown. So you could say, well, there's a product right there. But you know, what about a just a cleaning, right? Uh, Again, a service is also a product. I hope that makes sense. I hope those examples help. So down below on that same screen, a finished product. It's a finished high quality service or article in the hands of the consumer as an exchange for a valuable. In other words, it isn't a product at all unless it's exchanged. Unless it's exchangeable, it's not a product at all. Even the individual has to put his service or article in the hands of some other member before it can be called a product. Product is exchange. Exchange is product. So let me just as an example, I like to use all the time, or I use it quite a bit with dental practices, dental staff, and so on. If the patient came through a dental practice, they got great dentistry, they got great service, they're thrilled, uh, they got what they wanted, but they escape out the front door uh, without paying. Um, is that a product? And of course, the answer is no. Uh, there is no product because there was no exchange. Uh, so we have to we have to get exchange for a product to call it a product. We have to complete the cycle, right? The production cycle is only completed when there's an exchange, and that exchange usually is money. Sometimes it could be barter or something in exchange like trading, like barter, but normally we're talking about an exchange of money for a product. So conditions continued. If you can't get a statistic, it all becomes rumor and you will soon be in trouble. So if you can't uh, tie a statistic um, to a product, it really is not a product because it just becomes sort of rumor or what somebody's opinion is about something, right? It doesn't really work. So we have to be able to measure a product. Um, again, whether that product is something you can touch, feel, um, put your hands on, or whether it's something um, that is a service, there's still a way to measure it with a statistic. And if you look at your own life and your own work and what you produce and so forth, I think you can probably see that there's a way to measure it with a statistic. Um, so conditions continued in his own personal life, in his operation of a job, a state of organization, a state of family, a state of civilization, the state of a planet, the state of a sector. All these will come under the heading of conditions. And if they are in one condition and operating on the formula of another, they will fail. So we want to know on an ongoing, continual basis what condition we are operating in. Otherwise, it's just sort of like willy-nilly. By chance, you might be lucky, and if you succeed by luck, well, good luck. Now, I'm going to just stop for a second here and see if everybody's okay here and can hear what I'm saying. Mary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you have a question
I
there?
had to push I had to push another button to see if everybody was okay.
Okay. All right. I think we have one question. What happens if you assign the wrong condition? You're in one condition and operating on the formula of another. What happens then?
Well, if you, yeah, that's a good question. And all that's going to happen is you're just going to drop down. Uh, if, unless you're somehow by happenstance lucky, uh, you may be able to remain in some condition, but not for long, unfortunately. So, if you're in, if you're in emergency and you are thinking that you're normal and you're applying the normal formula, which is don't change anything, you will be dropping down to danger, which is the next condition below emergency. Is that okay?
Okay, I think that's good. All right,
Okay.
shall we
Uh,
continue?
yeah, yeah, I just wanted to check and see if anybody was even hearing me. So I guess they are.
Yes.
Uh, so let's just review the 8 dynamics next here on this next slide. And we have um, at the bottom of the page, you see the first dynamic, which is survival for self, one's own possessions, one's own survival, one's own uh, environment, so to speak. Um, that would be survival for self, right? And the next uh, dynamic 2, the second dynamic is sex, the sexual act, procreation, the rearing of children. That's the it's a 2-part. There's 2 parts to the second dynamic, and one would be the sexual urge and sex. And we all, especially when we're younger, that was something that we were probably familiar with. And procreation, that would be, of course, the rearing of children, and the family unit. So the third dynamic, next up, uh, groups. And of course, most people, not everyone, but many people have more than one group they're involved with. Probably one group in their life dominates that area or the third dynamic. Um, and they maybe have 2 or 3 other groups, right? I'm part of a couple of motorcycle groups, for example. Um, I'm part of this group at the moment. So I'm certainly um, uh, part of my business group and so on. So um, I have I have clients that are part of their church group, right? Um, so next one up, uh, the fourth dynamic um, is humankind. That's mankind as a species. So that would be the whole planet, mankind as a species. Uh, I think most of us care about what's going on across the world with our fellow human beings that occupy this planet. That would be our urge to survive uh, through mankind as a species. As you could probably understand, LRH talks about this. Nuclear war would wipe out the playing field on this planet, and we wouldn't have that dynamic. So that's a threat to uh, the fourth dynamic. The fifth dynamic, living things, that would be any life, any living things, plants, animals, period. Uh, so on this planet, everything that's green or maybe not green that is uh, plant life would be part of that dynamic, and all animals would fall under the heading of the fifth dynamic. And most of us like to see animals do well. Um, some people don't like bees, uh, but they are necessary. Some people don't like some bugs. Most of them are necessary. Maybe they're all necessary to some degree. Some are not, possibly. But there's bugs, and there's large animals and small animals, and there's plants, and there's trees, and there's grass. That's the fifth dynamic, living things. Um, the meshed universe, the physical universe, matter, energy, space, and time. So, you know, if this planet was blown up by nuclear uh, war, uh, again, we would lose the playing field. Um, we wouldn't have a place to operate, um, so to speak, in terms of these dynamics. So, matter, energy, space, and time, the physical universe, the planet itself is the sixth dynamic. Seventh dynamic, spiritual world. That would be you as a being, as a thetan, other thetans. I think you can all see that you have a certain uh, comm line with other people, even if they don't, even if they're not aware of it, or not aware that they're a spiritual being. There is a theta universe, we call it, in Scientology, right? Um, so um, that's the urge to survive through things spiritual, through the spiritual universe, and as a thetan. Infinity, um, if you look at the concentric circles out there, you see the last line uh, basically would just go off into infinity. And you could include in that dynamic the eighth dynamic, God, the supreme being, whatever that means to you. It means different things to different religions and so on and so forth. Um, uh, it's uh, it's the it's identified here in Scientology as infinity. Um, and you can see that these are an expanding zone of influence. In other words, if you look at a child down on the first dynamic, he probably or she probably isn't very aware of these other dynamics too much, not too concerned with them, certainly not concerned with sex, uh, certainly not concerned necessarily with the rearing of children, even though a young girl, you can see probably has some maternal uh, ways about her in terms of having dolls and raising these dolls as her children and so on and so forth. So, but it's not much there. And they don't have too much attention on groups or humankind, all that stuff. So as the child gets a little older and learns more, they expand as time goes on. Normally, in a healthy way, a person, a a human being would normally become more aware of these other dynamics and expand their influence and expand their interest, and hopefully, if they're really in good shape, they would kind of have all these dynamics sort of balanced and be interested in all of them, even if they didn't know what God was or what infinity meant. They might think that there's something out there. Uh, there might be something called the spiritual world, at least. So it's an expanding sphere of influence. Next slide. Finding the right statistics. Conditions are declared on the basis of statistics. So you always want to put a stat on what you're producing, and you are declaring the conditions or condition that the activity is in based on an actual statistic. So here's the table of conditions. You can see if you go into down a little ways here, uh, let's say right in the middle of the page, so that there's a stair, I guess a escalator or a stair steps there. You can see that non-existence is about in the middle there. So let's just start there. And in a new job, or or a brand new relationship, maybe the first date or a brand new job, um, you would probably be looking at a state of operation of non-existence. In other words, you might think you're hot shit, but the people that you are going to be working with your first day on the job, they may not know you're hot shit. The boss might know you're hot shit because the boss may have looked at your resume. He may have talked to some, or she may have talked to some references. So they might think you're pretty hot, but nobody else necessarily thinks you're hot. So you better apply the condition of non-existence. On the first date, you might think you're hot. She probably thinks you're hot. She wouldn't be having a first date with you, but that's not very much to go on if there's going to be a relationship built. So you want to, probably apply the non-existence formula, which we're going to get into the formulas in a second here. But from there, you're going to move up to danger. You're probably going to have some trouble on this new job. Um, and if you're dating, you're probably going to get into an argument about politics or something on the second or third date. Um, Maybe she doesn't like the way you think about sex quite. Uh, you may have some problems, so you're probably going to need to apply the danger formula if you want to move up these conditions, these operating states, into higher conditions, because ideally you want to get into at least normal soon, um, and so on. So um, there's lower conditions, as you can see. Um, Someone that doesn't get out of non-existence is going to go into a condition of liability. If they don't get out of that condition, if they don't know the formula, don't apply the formula, they're going to drop right down to doubt. And I've seen people go from non-existence first day on the job into doubt in a few hours. I've seen them out the door uh, after committing some overts in a day or two, sometimes less. Anyway, that's the tables of condition. The table of conditions. They flow up and they flow down, and so here is the next slide. The non-existence formula, a new post or non-existence formula. So again, someone brand new in the job, or again, maybe first date, or maybe you're just getting started in a new city, and you moved, and you want to get out and apply non-existence. So first step, number one, find a comm line. And so that would basically be a simple matter of like with new people that you're working with now on a new job. That would be, start somewhere, probably with your immediate senior, whether that be the general manager or whether that be the director of communication, whatever your boss is. Maybe it's the owner of the company, right? But that comm line maybe is already kind of in, but maybe it needs to be, even more established now in relationship to the actual work you're going to be doing. So make yourself known. Um, that would be, who are you? What is your position? What do you do? What are your products, right? That would be that. Discover what's needed and wanted. Step three uh, is a simple matter of asking and finding out, discovering, right? What is it really that is needed and wanted uh, from you, my fellow worker, you, my senior, you, my boss, the shipping clerk, whatever, whoever it is, right? So probably best on a new job to talk to everybody as soon as you can, over the next, certainly the early few days on the job. You'd want to really uh, discover what's needed and wanted from everyone. Um, four, step four, do, produce, and or present it. Um, and that would be, now you're going to produce on your job. And you probably wouldn't want to wait around a few days to start doing that. You probably want to get busy right away. But if you didn't do the earlier steps, you probably wouldn't know exactly what was needed and wanted. So it's going to work best for you to do the earlier steps. And again, these formulas, if you look at them, they all flow one to the next, each step, and you do them in sequence, and you don't skip steps. And to the degree that you are brilliant, LRH talks about the fact that if you're brilliant with the application of the formulas, you're going to get the best result. And if you're not as brilliant, you're probably going to get some results. I'm paraphrasing now, but you will get some results probably if you apply them a little bit sloppily. But if you apply them, the more brilliant you apply them, the better your chances. The better you're going to do, the less trouble you're going to have, the better you're going to be able to produce, the more fun you're going to have, the higher your morale is going to be, because production, after all, is the basis of morale. Okay, so if you uh, apply the formula, if you look at the bottom, the green print, is applied correctly, one rises to the next condition. Of course, the next condition on the page here would be danger. So why in the world would you have to go through danger? Why couldn't you just go from non-existence right up to normal, right? Well, it sort of seems that you might be able to. It sort of seems that way, but there usually is something um, that gets in the way, and there's some trouble. And everybody has to go through this. And if they're super smart, they recognize that they're just in danger now. There's some trouble. Somebody's pissed off. Uh, there's some upset, and they need to apply the danger formula, opposed to just being pissed off and going, well, hell, I did all these steps of emergency and all this work I'm producing, and why are people upset, right? So no point in wondering, um, why, you might as well get busy and just apply the danger formula and just get through it, and then you're going to get into normal. Okay, so so um, an emergency uh, is where a or a danger rather is where an emergency has continued too long, and where a statistic plunges downward steeply, um, or a senior danger, uh, a senior executive finds himself or herself wearing the hat of the activity because it is in trouble. So, um, a a graph that is level too long, emergency, which is a flat graph or one going down at least slightly, um, it's going to turn into danger after a while. Um, okay, so I'm going to stop for a second and see if everybody's okay here. Mary?
Yeah, Steve, we're good. Now, you know what I'm thinking is that we've got the senior danger formula and the junior first dynamic and danger formulas. And maybe we should keep those for part two when we talk about organizations. Or would you like to cover the senior and junior danger formulas first? Um, it's up to you.
No, I think no, I think what you're no, I think what you're saying is fine, because I think if people understand the basic you know scale of conditions, um, that and they understand these formulas and how they flow one to the next and what the formulas are, so they can actually do the steps. I think it kind of naturally kind of makes sense without too much explanation, just from reading what the senior danger formula would be, how that sort of applies to a senior and a junior, right? So,
Right.
uh, and
Yeah, we
the one comment that I'll make about it is uh, you will, as a senior, if we're talking now about work and you're a senior or a boss or a manager, you will get uh, the condition that you fail to recognize and assign to a junior. Um, so you'll get it. In other words, you will have problems, and you will get their condition if you don't have them apply the correct condition if they're in danger. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes. What we are talking about is an organization. No one person acts 100% alone. So in some form, you will have the senior danger formula or the junior danger formula to follow. And I think this is a good time for me to point out that in the chat, we have PDF files of the entire Introduction to Scientology Ethics that you could copy and get for yourself so that you can read every word of this. I have had to abbreviate some of these conditions in order to fit them on slides for our convenience. Uh, and it's, the book is about 135 pages. It's not long. We have followed the sequence of the book, but if you want every detail and every little explanation that LRH himself wrote, check that. Also, in the junior danger formula, you have something called, I don't want to upset anybody, but the OW write-up. We've all done those, I'm sure, as if we were part of staff, if or just in ethics of any kind. We have a handout, a PDF handout on how to do an OW write-up if you need to do that as part of the danger formula. So I just want to point that out. But okay, we're in danger. And what I'm going to do is go up to the next condition for you, Steve. We're going to touch on emergency, if that's all right. And does anybody have any questions? Have we got anything happening here? No, we're fine. Okay. Yeah, take it away, Steve. The
Okay,
emergency formula. Okay, we got it.
okay, good, good. Okay, good. So, yeah, so once you are through the danger formula by applying the uh, steps, then you um, you're going to be an emergency, and then the emergency formula applies, and that uh, is listed on the next page here. Let's see, uh, where is it? Danger, senior danger, junior danger, or there it is, emergency formula. Okay. All right. So first step, um, for an organization, it's promote. So that would be, um, if you look up the word promote, uh, Elevation defines it as getting your products known, getting yourself known, getting your products out there, right? So advertising would come under the heading uh, of promotion. Um, and
Am I-
For an individual, you better say produce, right? So if you're looking at your organization that's in a state of emergency, then the first step is promote, right? Get yourself out there, get yourself known better, advertise, promote. PR would would actually uh, not be it would be part of that, right? It could be part of that, but to an individual, you better say produce. So the individual on a job, or like an individual on the second dynamic, and so forth, it's you better get busy and produce, right? First step. Uh, Two, change your operating basis. So there's some operating basis that you need to look at, identify, and change. It's always something um, that led you down the the rough road of of getting in this condition, um, and that operating basis needs to change. Again, I think we defined uh, operating basis earlier, but this is simply the way you are um, handling things, the way you're behaving, the way you're doing things, right? Your operating basis. Three, next step, economize. Well, economize probably financially for sure, and maybe also you can consider economizing with your time. Maybe you're wasting too much time. This is what I usually find with most people is they need to, kind of knock off the wasted time, besides uh, recognizing they need to economize financially. For prepare to deliver, um, because if you're applying the first two steps there, you are going to now have more, your flows are going to open up and you're going to have more flow. You better get busy and prepare to deliver. That's got to be part of it, right? Um, so um, Speaking of flows, I think I'd mentioned already that these formulas, they flow one to the next, one uh, condition to the next, one operating state to the next state, etc. And I think you would agree with me, and there's plenty of LRH on this. Life consists of flows, and if you are applying the correct condition for the operating state that you're actually in, truly in, uh, you will be flowing. Things will be flowing, right? Um, in terms of improving. Um, and A stuck flow is where things aren't moving, things aren't flowing, things aren't happening, uh, not having good luck. It simply means you are not operating with the correct condition. Uh, you're not operating on the right steps of the formula or the condition that you're in. You're maybe in a condition, you're not recognizing it. And I saw this recently with somebody that was just having a hell of a time. And I had to get them to see that they weren't in the condition that they thought they were in, and they weren't even thinking about, frankly, a condition or what condition they might be in. They just were wallowing around with lots of trouble, lots of bad luck, lots of bad things happening to them. Their flows were completely stuck, and it's a sad state of affair because it doesn't need to be that way. LRH gave us these beautiful formulas and this wonderful tech to take care of our life, which again is the 8 dynamics. Okay, so prepare to deliver, and then 5. You've got to stiffen discipline, or you've got to stiffen ethics. Well, so sort of the same thing. And the to get into this condition of emergency, the person had to have kind of gone off the rails a bit with their discipline. Maybe they're not showing up to work on time. Maybe they are getting a little bit lazy. Maybe they had a loss and they're still kind of stuck in it. Maybe they're they've decided at some stage, at some phase of this, that they were a victim, and so they've got to kind of snap out of that. Step 5, stiff and disciplined. And LRH says that life is going to discipline the individual, and that's true. If he doesn't discipline himself, if he doesn't get his own ethics in, life is going to take care of him, and meaning that he's going to have just more trouble, because as you already can see here, the next step below emergency is danger, right? So let's handle the discipline and the ethics at the last step here of emergency before we have to, the following week or the following days, we're now all of a sudden in a danger condition. It gets more serious. It's like it gets harder. You don't need to do that. You don't need to be a victim, and you don't need to suffer that much, unless you want to. It's power choice, right? Okay. Anyway, so normal, now affluence. So if you apply, well, let's see. Let's go back to normal. Okay. If you get out of this emergency condition successfully, you are going to see a nice increase in your stats, and you are going to be in a normal operation. Okay. Now let's address something here before I forget. That's kind of important. If you are applying the danger formula and you apply it standardly and step by step, you are going to improve your stats. Okay. In fact, many times it can happen where you will go into affluence. Okay. Just by applying real standardly and very well and very thoroughly the danger formula, especially if you write up your OWs as part of it, like the first step. Just like clean your lines out, right? Just clean your universe out with a good thorough OW write up, and ideally get a meter check at the end of that, so that you're clean, and whoever's helping you can help you look maybe at anything else that needs to get picked up as OWs, overts or withholds, right? So you may go right into affluence. Now, what you want to do, as per a policy called completing conditions formulas, which is not part of this talk, but I just want to mention here because you can look it up. Mary could, or someone can send you the reference for it, but on completing conditions formulas, you when you jump from danger and your stats all of a sudden, boom, are up into affluence, graph is going up steeply. You could go into affluence just like that, just like magically. But you want to be sure that you pick up the other steps of the formulas between where you now are in affluence and where you came from, and you were in danger. Now you want to be sure that you complete those other steps that are in emergency and the normal steps as well, which is there's not much to do there. The main thing is to get through the emergency formula steps so that you don't miss something there on the emergency formula, because you can have trouble if you don't do that. Okay, so normal, to maintain an increase, you don't change anything. So ethics are very mild, the justice factor quite mild. So things are pretty nice. Things are pretty mild. There's no savage actions taken particularly. And I tell my consulting clients, look, the theme here, when they're normal, I say the overall theme is don't change anything. Keep doing what you have been doing. Okay. And then there's this other factor, looking at step 3, the statistic betters, look it over carefully and find out what bettered it, and then do that without abandoning what you were doing before. Okay. So for the statistic worsen slightly, quickly find out why and remedy it. And you just jockey those two factors, the statistic bettering and the statistic worsening. Those two factors, 3 and 4, you look those over. And again, we are talking about a graph that on step 4 here maybe dropped a little bit, you know, from the week before. It's not in danger. It's not something that's a disaster. It dropped a little bit. Let's find out what caused it and remedy it quickly, right? And you just jockey those two factors. So this is important because you can maintain this normal, and if you apply this normal formula, you will go into affluence. Absolutely. Okay. So normal operation formula is applied correctly, one rises to the next condition, which would be affluence. Okay, so let's see about affluence. The affluence formula related to money, and when we talk about the word affluence, we're usually, thinking about money. So your gross income, your gross revenues, your gross collections, whatever that is, your gross income, right? Whether that be personal or whether that be with your business. You can look at net income, of course. We won't get into all that right now, but income is up. Money is coming in, right? And it's way up, right, from where it was, right? It's better than normal. It's steeply up for a week, or maybe there's a trend and it's up, 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 right? So step 1, economize, and that is just what it says. Don't spend anything. Don't buy anything. Don't make any future commitments. Don't hire anyone. It's like knock it off, clamp it down. LRH has more to say about this, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here a little bit, but he said he does use some of those words I just used. Economize. Step 2, pay every bill. After you economize, after you clamp it down, after you just kind of pretend that you're completely broke and you got no money whatsoever, I'm sure you've noticed that when you are in a condition of affluence and all of a sudden there's all this money coming in, everybody wants to get paid. Everybody wants your money. And the deals offered on a new car are everywhere. There's deals on things at the grocery store, everywhere else that you go shopping. It's just everything in the physical universe wants to take your money, and I mean now, right? So that's the first step is clamp it down. Step one. Step two, pay every bill. This is where you round up every bill that you have. Elevate says under the sun, moon, and stars, and you pay them. Every bill that you owe that you can scrape up under the sun, moon, and stars, and you pay every bill. Now, maybe you won't go that far. Maybe you can only pay half the bills or a few of the bills, but whatever you can pay, every bill possible, boom, 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 right? Maybe you'll pay it all off. Maybe you don't have a lot of bills, but pay every bill. Um, and sometimes if there's no bills, I just have my clients. I just say, look, find any debt you can pay off, especially start with the high interest stuff and start knocking that down, and we come up with a plan on how much they can knock off of debt, right? If once the bills are all paid, because maybe you've had 3 or 4 affluents over the last 6 months, and there is no bills left, right? Or maybe there's a couple of bills, but there's all kinds of money left over after the bills are paid. Good. Let's find that. Let's find the debt. Let's knock all that off, and let's start with the high interest stuff first, and lay it all out and knock off as much as possible. Right. This is the way to get debt free. Uh, it's pretty nice to be debt free. If you're not debt free, but if you are debt free, you know that it's very freeing, spiritually freeing too, to not owe any money to anyone. Okay, so who wants to work for the banks, right? So step three, invest the remainder in service facility, make it more possible to deliver. Well, this is where you can invest in equipment, more facility, a bigger space, moving to a bigger, office. Um, this is where you would, buy another computer or two, whatever you can do. If you look at facilities, the definition of the word facilities, I'm sure you can find the correct definitions in the dictionaries on what facilities mean, or facility. Um, and uh, uh, and you want to be able to deliver more service or produce more products, right? So this is where you're investing um, on what is left over after you do the first 2 steps and you pay every bill. Okay. Um, 4, discover what caused the condition of affluence and strengthen it. Something caused it, always, 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 and you want to discover what that is, and that's a lot of fun. And then you can strengthen that, whatever it is. And I had one of my clients give a nice bonus to his collect to the gal that is responsible for his collections last week, uh, because she did a great job, and she pulled off some miracles, and she got a nice little bonus. So that was one way that he strengthened that affluence that he had last week. There was a couple of other things to do too, but anyway, um, so if you apply the affluence formula effectively, you may have quite a few affluences in a row. Um, but you will get into power if you really apply these formulas, and particularly if you can be successful with the affluence formula. You will get up into these higher conditions, and when you start maintaining a very, very high level of production and income, and it's very, very stable and it's unkillable, you are now in power. Okay, so affluence, attainment. Uh, well, this should be, let's see, this is action affluence. And so this is referring to outside of finance, where we're talking about just straight production. So a person on a job, for example, they're not necessarily applying the financial affluence formula, but their stat, if it's an affluence steeply up from the week before, or it's trending up steeply over a period of weeks and so on, and they're in true affluence as an operating state, as a condition, then they want to apply the action affluence formula, so you can see the steps there. And we won't go through those right now, but they align with the standard affluence formula. And so now attainment. Let's see. Let's see if we have the affluence. I don't see it here, so I'm going to read it because I don't see it here. But I think it's a good one. Um, so Mary, do you see it?
We have, Steve, we've got the affluence attainment formula on the screen right now. So as you read through the 4 steps, people will be seeing it on their screen.
Oh, I can't. Okay, I think what happened here is I have the old screen before it got added, so that's okay. I've got it right here.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
If you're reading from the PDF I sent you, yeah, we've got this additional slide today.
okay, yeah. Let me just get it up here.
Would you like me to read it out? Give you a little break?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. The affluence attainment consists of hard work, in ethics, standard tech, and doing the things that won, not new things untried as yet.
Yeah, so that's a good one. And I will say, on the last uh, comment there, doing those things that won, not new things untried as yet. I will say that you want to use judgment on that one, because I've experienced this myself. In fact, 3 years ago, I started a new business that was completely new to me, even though I have a strength in sales and I have a strength in running a business. The actual business and the products being produced and being delivered and so forth were all new to me. And that business in 3 years has gone from zero to just screaming affluence all over the place, many times, and is uh, gone from having probably about $50,000 of debt in the beginning to get it all launched, to now having about $150,000 in cash and inventory uh, materials, uh, and no debt, and it's been a rocket ride, right? So I just want to mention that because I don't think that I think you just need to use judgment, and that's not to say that you want to go off and just willy nilly try 20 things that you've never had any experience with, and new things and so on. So I think LRH's advice there is very good, generally speaking. That look, what's worked for you before? What have you been successful with? Don't go off chasing rainbows, I think is the message. But hard work, you know, uh, LRH makes some comments about this. I don't know where off the top of my head, but I think it would probably ring true to most of you listening. Is most people, if you go around and study and look at wealthy people that become very wealthy, most of the time they will tell you, if you read their books, which I enjoy doing, um, if you study them, you will find out that uh, pretty much all of them, uh, their success came from hard work. So I really, really love that first step where LRH says hard work as the first step, because it does take hard work to be successful. Really at anything. Yeah, you might get lucky, but I think somebody once said people that depend on luck usually have bad luck, or there's something about that. But I think it probably makes sense to most of you that depending on luck is not really very good, or depending on the lottery, which would be luck, or going into the markets, the financial markets, for example, and you're going to get rich schemes, right? These things hardly ever work out, and hard work does. And so standard tech, well, there's a standard tech to whatever you're doing. There's a technology to it, right? Even sales has a standard tech. There's technology to doing it right, right? Doing it correctly, doing it so that it's going to be successful because it's proven, and so on. Okay, so the affluence attainment formula, applying the conditions that one is in, is absolutely vital, right? In ethics, how many criminals really succeed in the long run? They don't, right? So having your ethics in, doing the right thing, being ethical, is not only clean hands make a happy life, but it's the way to it's the route, it's the way to success as well, right? Okay,
Right.
so that's
Steve,
my
oh,
that's my 2 cents. Okay, go ahead.
okay.
Oh.
Randy has something to say
It just-
here.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a step 5 to this affluence attainment formula. We didn't get in on the slide because we put this in at the last minute, but it's step 5 should read applying the condition one is in. That's step 5, doing the formula of the condition one is in, something like that. Should definitely be part of this formula.
Okay, I'll add that to the PowerPoint
Yep.
for
Yeah.
publication. Yeah,
Great.
absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Sure.
Okay. All right. So Steve, we're going to move to the next condition on this, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
sort of. Let's see where we're at here.
Let's see. We're on condition of power.
Power. Yeah, first dynamic power formula. Don't disconnect step 1. So when you get into power, yeah, wrong thing to do, disconnect. In other words, see you later. I'm off to Tahiti. So you want to stay connected. You don't want to deny your connections. Those connections is what got you into power, and disconnecting could be pretty fatal. So to make the records of all your lines, well, so if you want to turn over a hat, a post, you've just got to write it up in enough detail and get the post occupied by your replacement, and help them get your post in their hands, and get them able to wear your hat. To say it simply, for do all you can to make the post occupiable. So that's, first dynamic. Let's see, third dynamic. This gets a little more involved. I think the best thing to do there is to read Simon Bolivar. This is Responsibilities of Leaders. I think it's called, and that's a good one. It's long, but it's interesting too. So LRH uses an example of Simon Bolivar, who was the liberator of let's see, South America, Brazil, and anyway, and his consort. Anyway, so that's a good one. So let's see, power, third dynamic power. I think that the one message that I know about this is to delegate, let people play the game that work for you, give them plenty to do, use them. People like to be used, and I don't mean in a bad way, I mean in a good way. And if you don't use them, they aren't happy. You don't use them, you lose them, right? And give them plenty of game to play. If you're not sure about what that means, look up the study what LRH says about games, and it's very interesting. Games and no games. If you have power, use it or delegate it, or you sure won't have it long. Step 3. Step 4, when you have people, use them or they will soon become most unhappy. 5, when you move off a point of power, pay all your obligations on the nail. Well, yeah, you don't want to keep a connection there if you're going to turn over a business, sell a business, turn over power. So 4, when you're close to power, get some delegated to you. So if you're working for somebody, push them power. If they're a good guy, and you shouldn't be working for them if they're not a good guy or a good gal, get some of that power that they have delegated to you. Ask them for it. Get some of it for yourself so you can use it to not only defend them but defend yourself, and to move up and take on more responsibility, and then be sure to ask for more money. That's a good thing to ask for. When I was younger and stupider, I wasn't very good at asking my boss for a raise or getting more money. But I got better at that as I got a little more brazen and a little more experience and a little more confidence. Anyway, 7, always push power in the direction of anyone on whose power you depend. Push power, meaning support them. Man, make their life easier. Okay. This is so important, because most people in power, they have more to do than they can get done in 3 times as much time as they actually have available. So push them power, support them, take a load off, get some of their hats, insist on taking some of their hats and wearing those hats, getting others to wear their hats. You really want to, if you're working for someone or working with someone that's got power, get some of it, use it, and support them. They'll love it. Okay, power change. Well, I don't think I'm going to go into this right now, so I think we're kind of running out of time anyway. So I think I'm going to stop right here.
Yeah,
Randy?
yes, Steve, we are getting up to questions and answers and wins. But Randy, did you have something to add to this? By the way, may I just add real quick here? We will be continuing this part 2 on April 20th it's a Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. We will cover lower conditions, and the focus will be on applying conditions to the third dynamic. But Randy, have you got anything to add here?
No, this is all very good. I think next time we should probably concentrate a little bit on stat, like what stat graphs look like for each condition. And we can do that next time. So you know
Absolutely.
how to recognize what condition you're in by the trend of your stat graph, you know. But otherwise, I think
Excellent.
we're pretty good here. Let's open it up to any questions from anybody else.
You can type your question into the public chat, in a private chat to Randy or Z or me, and we'll read it out. Or you can raise your hand under reactions on menu at the bottom of the screen. Let's see here. What have we got?
Jeffrey,
And if you'd like, you can unmute yourself and simply ask your question. But we'll try to get to everybody.
Jeffrey Seeger has his hand raised.
Okay,
Yeah,
Jeffrey.
yeah. So I'm not sure if there's an element that I found in very, very successful people. And yesterday I actually went through a video that did a biography of a very the guy who's sort of the key to all of our chips in Taiwan and so forth. And I've noticed also, if you follow the history, Elon Musk, that failure actually is extremely important. And I think that's part of resilience and persistence or whatever. But many of these people, and this guy in particular, was amazing success all the way to the end. But he had like 3 or 4 failures, and and he actually branched to different companies. So I'm just curious, whether that is a factor in this as we go in, that sometimes success is going to be is going to require failure to some extent. If you look at SpaceX, the rockets, several rockets blew up, and there was a point of almost extinction of that company, and now it's a super success. So things do not, I think that part which you mentioned, danger, is really important, that it's not always going to be smooth sailing. And so the ability to actually take the failures and learn from them, adjust and adapt. And that 4th item on there, as far as stay on the safe path, was kind of a red flag to me. You do have to qualify that, because sometimes you do have to veer off to a new path if things are, starting to go south, or you see something in the horizon.
Well, yes, these are very good points, and thank you for that input. And that point, I think it's the 4th point on the affluence attainment formula, doing those things that won, not new things untried as yet. I believe that I think that I made a couple of comments there, but I think doing those things that won is it's very good to keep a list, in fact, a log of your successful actions, right, in your life, right? All the things that you've done, that you've been successful at. People call this core competency, right? And I think that's really smart. LRH putting that where he did on the affluence attainment formula. But your points are well taken. It reminds me of Disney, Walt Disney. He said he failed 1,000 times. And before he succeeded. And if you look at most people that are huge successes in life, they struggled and had failures, and it didn't come easy. All right, that's where the hard work comes in, right?
Right.
So, yeah. Colonel Sanders didn't invent Kentucky Fried Chicken until he was, I think, 54 years old. He'd probably roll over in his grave if he saw what happened to it since then. But he used to have some pretty good fried chicken. Anyway,
It's true.
but those are good points. I'm sure Elon Musk has had plenty of failures. I think all of us have had, if we've lived very long, have had some major setbacks, right? But using LRH tech, if I would have had this tech when I was young, in my teens and 20s, not that I was smart enough to even know that I needed it, right? But I could have saved myself a lot of failures.
Yes. And somebody posted a nice quote from Thomas Edison. I've never failed. I just have successfully figured a way it wouldn't work. Thomas Edison.
There you go.
It's a
There you go.
great way to look
One of
at
my
it.
heroes.
Yeah.
One of my
Okay, do we
heroes.
have any other questions or
And
comments?
Nancy raised her hand.
Okay, Nancy, go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us what you think.
Just
Perhaps
a
your question.
response to the idea of if you find yourself in a failure or in something that's not going right, then it's kind of, these formulas are helpful because then you can spot where exactly you are, and then they can help you get yourself back on track and write it. So they're useful as tools. Now, Elon probably had a lot of experiences and figured things out on his own. But these are really nice to have to fall back on when you find yourself in a circumstance where kind of you have a blueprint of what can work to help get you back on track. And just think, if he had something like that, maybe he could have gone even further. Maybe he'd be on Mars by now already. Just a thought.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I tell my consulting clients that I use this line. I think maybe some of you might like this, but I probably agree with it. But LRH, he makes some comments about this along the lines of these formulas, and that is what I say to people is, look, to the degree that a business owner is successful, that because you see really huge businesses, you see very, very successful CEOs of very, very successful businesses. And to the degree that they're successful, they sort of innately applied these conditions formulas, right? And they're very lucky that they stumbled or maybe kind of figured things out and kind of figured out and aligned themselves with these natural laws, because these are natural laws. But I tell my consulting clients, look, you don't have to depend on being that brilliant. Maybe you're not as brilliant as some of these successful people, right? And so using these formulas can make you brilliant, right? Without just willy-nilly, by trial and error, hook or crook, attempting to be successful, right? So anyway,
Very good. Good
that's
point.
that.
Yeah. That's great.
All right. Okay. Listen, if there are Are there any other questions or comments before we go to wins? Anybody? IT, you see anybody? Okay. All right, then I'll tell you what, we're going to stop recording at this point and we're going to go to wins. And